We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back on Liberty Nation Radio. I continue to be Mark Angelides, and we continue to be joined by Liberty Nation's national security correspondent, Dave Patterson. Dave, thanks. We talked about the Con Air migrant deportation flights, which I love, and I promise I won't quote any more from that movie unless I think of a good one. But now I'd like to talk very, very briefly for me. There's an issue that you brought to my attention, is that it seems that Europe and the world and the media and the European media and the world media and all permutations of those several words, they're just not listening to what people high up in the Trump administration are saying regarding Ukraine.
No, that's right. I firmly believe that they look at these opportunities for Secretary of State Rubio, Secretary of Defense Hegseth, when they come out and they talk about the Trump national security doctrine, if you will, and they think it's boilerplate for the moment. No, it's not. This is what is going on inside the United States. Secretary Hegseth made this very clear at a stakeout when he went to the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, and also when he was in the NATO meetings recently. He said that the priorities of the United States are very clear. We are going to secure our southern border first. We are going to take care of our major threat, which is China. And then we're going to be a good neighbor to Europe and do what we can to support Europe. We are not supporting Europe.
Yeah.
And I think that was very clear. But I don't think anybody got it, because the way in which they're talking, it's, oh my gosh, the United States is pulling away. Nobody said that. Not one person has said that. But what we have said is that we have bigger fish to fry, and
Secretary of State Rubio, he said something similar, didn't he?
Yes, absolutely. And everybody was upset with the United States because we didn't include Zelensky in the first, or Zelensky's representative in the first meetings with the Russians. But what would that have what would happen there? It was a building trust meeting. It was a, as they say, confidence building. And with the Ukrainians there, they would have said, here are our demands. We're not. It would be about internal national security, sovereignty, security, and the whole thing would have devolved. And so it was not a good idea to have them there, and that's why I don't think they were.
I think something people really gloss over is, with this in particular, why Ukraine's representatives weren't there. If President Zelensky can't stop, as VP J.D. Vance said, can't stop litigating the case, even when he's in the Oval Office to sign a deal with the United States, what chance was there of him not litigating the situation in the room with the Russians when you're just trying to get the basic things? Are we ready to start talking? What are the preconditions before we start negotiating?
Yeah,
and if he can't hold off on the litigation in a friendly environment, what hope was there with that? But
yeah, and the whole idea of security assurances, security guarantees. Well, there's a newsflash: there aren't any. I mean, no matter how powerful you are, there are no security guarantees. And so to keep bringing that up was not helpful. It wasn't productive. So I think that the point that Rubio made in the meetings that he had in Saudi Arabia was that we're not going to be sitting down with a map and drawing lines, because first of all, it's far too soon for that, but it's not productive. It's not helpful for the discussion. And that's not where Ukraine is. They want to sit down and draw lines. This is our line. We won't give up any more than this. Well, the discussions and the negotiations aren't even negotiations yet. Why would you poison the well by doing that?
I think what you say about lines is very interesting because the conversation has shifted in the last couple of weeks, and it strikes me as a very unrealistic thing. But rather than just, okay, we get back the Donbass region, right, Donetsk, Luhansk, and that was where it was. But now people are talking, it's got to go back to, where it was in 2014. And I wonder why these same voices who are now demanding pre-2014 territorial lines, what kept them silent? What kept them, let's call it what they would call it. What kept them complicit in Russia's hegemony over Crimea for the last decade? And now they've decided that, well, we need to do something about it. This was outrageous. They kept silent for the last 10 years on it. But it strikes me as quite hypocritical.
Well, I mean, you had the Obama administration when the whole thing started, and in April 2014, and they were simply not intellectually and willfully not equipped to deal with Russia. They were not foreign policy wogs. They were simply inept in terms of dealing with other countries, and this caught them by surprise. No surprise. But when that happened, when the Donbass, Luhansk oblasts were lost, when Crimea was annexed, the deal was over.
Yeah.
It was in cement. That was never going to come back because, as you'll recall, Obama refused to send any sort of offensive weapons to Ukraine, and it was only Donald Trump that sent them javelins. And then you come to Biden, and he's worse because what does he do? He goes and has his big summit with Putin, after which he stops all offensive weapons to Ukraine. Now, and of course, this was on top of his excellent effort in Afghanistan. So what does Putin think? He says we've got a chump here. And the only reason he said that is because it was true.
Yeah.
And consequently, what the Biden administration has managed to leave us with is an extraordinarily complex, convoluted set of equities, and everybody wants a piece, and it's going to take adults to sort all this out.
Yeah, it seems that there's a great deal more noise than action taking place at the moment. It's almost as though the fourth estate is reveling in the world chaos because it sells more papers, unfortunately. Dave Patterson, thanks ever so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Mark. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
And a very special thank you to you at home for tuning in to listen to Liberty Nation Radio today. Thanks for being here. Please remember, Liberty Nation does not endorse candidates, campaigns, nor legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement. Thanks for being here.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.